From the land of sky blue waters, welcome to the Sota Pod. Isha here, and I thank all of you who are joining us wherever and whenever you are listening or watching on YouTube. That's what if you're watching us right now on YouTube, welcome. We are posting full Sota Pod episodes now on YouTube, not live streaming them like Judd's Buds, but we are posting them on YouTube. And if you're watching us for the first time, welcome. Smash that like button and subscribe as we are so close to 1,000 subscribers. All I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, is thank goodness I taped the chunk, or recorded, I should say. I still let taped slipped, and I'm not even from necessarily the taped era. I was like right after that. But anyways, I feel old now. But it's a good thing that I pre-recorded the interview with our guest here early this weekend, or I wouldn't have been able to get through a podcast today. If you guys can't hear, I barely have a voice. I was streaming fights. I was doing podcast stuff all weekend. It was a big weekend for the side of mixed martial arts, UFC 298, and a bunch of other great shows as well going on. So I was covering those extensively, and I think I was talking for like 14 hours straight on Saturday. So the rest of the weekend, I pretty much did not have a voice. So as much as there are two like specific wild topics that I want to get into on this podcast, I'm personally going to put them on the shelf until next week, or, you know, maybe I don't even get into them if Hoppy and Z cover them on Wednesday. That's not to say that there's no wild talk in this episode, though. Don't you worry. I know last week we had some good reviews and also some mixed reviews on our last guest, but I want to say a big shout out to Darren again and to all our guests who join us here on the Sota Pod. And this week's guest in particular, as we're going to be focusing on the Arizona Coyotes. What the hell is still going on there in regards to them moving, in regards to them staying, in regards to the buzz still at the Mullet Arena, if they're going to stay there another year, which it looks like they are, as well as some conversation on just full NHL topics, hockey topics, international hockey topics, and your Minnesota Wild as well. Next week, guest, by the way, I'll just say we got Seth Topel jumping on, so it will be less NHL, less international hockey, and just bang, bang, bang Wild focus as we jump back into the swing of things post All-Star break and post this last week, which was up and down, just like the Minnesota Wild's season. We bring on our guest, though. Before we dive into all things hockey talk, I just wanted to give a little tease, drop a little tease on this episode, because we have a new show launching under the Sota Pod banner. Look, I don't even have like a full script for this one because the name of the show has not even been confirmed yet. We're waiting right until puck drop for that one. But a new show under the Sota Pod banner dropping this week, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to feature host Joe Smith, Minnesota Wild beat writer for The Athletic. Longtime Tampa Bay beat writer, been covering this sport for so long. He also covers your Minnesota Gophers as well. So very excited for this new show dropping this week, ladies and gentlemen. And what a tremendous inaugural episode guest that Joe brought on the show. That's right. Oliver Moore joined them, forward for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Here's a little sneak peek and clip from that episode. Again, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow the podcast so you never miss any updates, so you never miss any new shows coming out on our platform. Check it out.
Now, this might be a conflicting question, but let's hear it. This year, if you've been following the NHL, which I'm sure you have at least to an extent, who should win the Calder Trophy?
We were actually, it's funny because we were just debating about that a little bit in the locker room, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, if a Gopher with Faber, he's having an unbelievable rookie season, but it's a tough question. But I think Bedard is also having obviously a great campaign with his rookie season as well, and it could go either way. We'll see. I'm excited to watch that down the stretch, though.
There's a spot for you in politics one day.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe.
Again, stay tuned. Very excited to have another great show, to have another great person, one of the greats right now in Joe Smith, working with us to help cover your Minnesota Wild, ladies and gentlemen, under our banner. Last quick thing I want to get to here. We may not have football on Sundays anymore. Well, at least until the summer, if you're a CFL fan. But that doesn't mean that there's no more sports. March Madness is approaching. The NCAA hockey tournament is approaching. The high school hockey championship is approaching. If you're into basketball, there's basketball on Sunday. I know my roommates were getting into golf, boozing it up this weekend. There's still so much sports to watch every weekend. Mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, kickboxing, if you're in my neck of the woods. And that doesn't mean that you can't celebrate, can't snack on, can't fill your bellies with the greatest pizza that I've ever had. The greatest pizza that I've ever had. 7th Avenue Pizza. Guys, deals everywhere. Hy-Vee, Kowalski's, Lunds and Byerly. Your grocery store too, I imagine. And if your grocery store does not have 7th Avenue Pizza, ask a manager there, what the hell is wrong with you? Or get in touch with Matt and the crew on social media at 7th Avenue Pizza. They are the most interactive brand ever. I swear. They're the first ones to retweet, reply, comment, like anything I post that even has any sort of relation to them or a pizza. They're great people. They're a great local brand. And honestly, like, I will never order another pizza. I will never buy another frozen pizza because I've already found the best, and the best is blessed, and the best is 7th Avenue Pizza. Okay, let's get into our guest here. My friend Richie Suave Flores. He works in local radio in Arizona. He's been covering local sports in Arizona for, more than a decade now. And he used to cover the Arizona Coyotes very closely for a podcast. Shout out Sporty with Corey and Richie. I think it's on hiatus right now, but it might come back in the near future. Maybe once they figure out what the hell's going on with that team. Richie's a good friend of mine. Richie knows his stuff. Richie's been in broadcasting and working in media way longer than I have, so it's awesome to connect with the fellow hockey fan. And this one in the desert who can give us an update on what the hell is going on there. So on the other side, hanging out with our boy Richie here on the Sota Pod. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another guest here on the podcast, talking all things NHL, a little bit of Minnesota Wild, and a focus on the Arizona Coyotes because we have the host of the Motorsports Radio Show, Sporty with Corey and Richie, Arizona Coyotes NHL hockey podcaster, and my friend and longtime Arizona Coyotes insider, Richie. How is it going, my man? Good to see you.
Happy to be back with you. Happy to be back on the hockey podcast arena here because I feel like I haven't done one in a while because Corey and I have kind of stepped back from doing our show on a consistent basis. We may or may not come back. Who knows? But yeah, I'm happy to be with you. Happy to be talking some hockey. Always a good time. I feel like you and I haven't chatted in a long time, so it's always good to see you. And I'm glad to be on the show. Thank you.
Mr. Richie Suave Flores. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. It has been a while. For those who don't know, Richie and I guess we could call it work together. We've worked together before. It was a lot of fun. Early days of THPN, the good old days. So it's good. Yeah, it's good to catch up. We did a lot of like back and forth guest appearances on early editions of the Sota Pod and Sporty with Corey and Richie as well. Good to hear that you're still on the mic, though, still on the air.
Yes.
How's the Speed Freaks show going?
Yeah, crushing it. Thanks for asking. You can watch us. If anybody out there in the Sota Pod Nation up there in Minnesota is a motorsports fan, IndyCar, NASCAR,
there's quite a few.
Formula One, NHRA, anything with a motor in it, we cover it. You can watch us now, actually, on MAV TV.
Oh, nice.
So yes, so if you have MAV TV, it's part of a bunch of the streaming networks, and you can find it. It's mavtv.com to see where you can find it. But yeah, we're on MAV TV every Monday at noon Eastern time and noon Pacific time too. So you can watch us a couple times if you're hanging around on a Monday afternoon and want to watch the motorsports. You can check us out there. And then of course, the live show is Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. on all around the country, and you can check us out. If you go to speedfreaks.tv, you can see where to listen to us anywhere in the world, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff.
I love it, man. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there listening. All right, let's talk some Arizona Coyotes here before we get to bigger hockey news, NHL, and a little bit of Minnesota Wild talk as well. As the Minnesota Wild just came off a win recently against the Arizona Coyotes.
Yes.
Then they went into a weekend of just pure sadness again. But positive stuff here, Isha. Despite playoff aspirations looking grim for the Arizona Coyotes this season, Richie, I mean, at this point of the season anyways, there have been a lot of positives. I mean, arena bullshit aside for this team, what have been your top 3 highlights of the season?
Number one is the kind of the highest of highs was when the Coyotes went on a 5-game win streak in which they beat all of the recent Stanley Cup champions. And
wow,
it was cool. They beat the Knights. They beat the Blues. They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? They beat all these teams who have won Stanley Cup title. They beat the Washington Capitals. They beat all these teams in consecutive fashion, and they did it in a really fun manner. And it was great. And that was, God, when was that? That was back in like November or something, right? And that was when they were in a playoff spot at the time, and they were playing really well. They were playing better than I even thought they were playing. And so that's the top notch of the season so far. I would also put Logan Cooley on that list. I know we're going to get into him a little bit later. But yeah, having him at the NHL level and watching him get better as the season's gone along has been really, really cool. And he's only going to get better. He's only 19 years old, dude. Like he's you know, so he's done about as good as I thought he was going to do. Right. It took him a little bit of time to kind of get used to it, but I think he's really focused on it, playing a complete 200-foot game with the Coyotes. And I think he's really, really gotten better. And he's been a lot of fun to watch, especially alongside Dylan Guenther too. Dylan Guenther is back in the NHL level. He was top 10 pick a couple of years ago. And once those guys have been playing together, they've been a lot of fun to watch. So it's a work in progress, but we're getting there. So those are like the 2 top notch things that have been my favorite things this season so far, for sure.
And I guess number 3 would be that, like, well, the team is still there for now. So.
Again, it's been struggle bus lately, so I don't even know if there is like a number 3 on the list there. But it's I think they've lost like 8 games in a row or something. It's bad. We're back in the hunt for the NHL draft lottery again. So there we go. I tweeted this out the other day to somebody, another Coyotes fan. I said, cackling for Macklin. That's what we're doing now. Cackling for Macklin.
You always have the good sayings, like the good chants, the good slogans for tanking. I like it.
Thank you.
Because Canucks fans in the dark days of Jim Benning, they had nothing. Like they were they weren't creative at all, because it was depressing more than like, we're gonna make light of this meme again.
Real quick, speaking of the Canucks, congratulations to Rick Tocchet, dude. Like, bro, former Coyotes coach,
and Phil Kessel. I mean,
has he signed there officially?
Yeah, he's in Abbotsford right now on his conditioning stint, baby. Dude, working off that Haagen-Dazs and hot dogs. Let's go.
Run it back, baby. Let's go from the Coyotes days. It's gonna be like a reunion. You got Connor Garland already up there. You got Talk. OEL's gone, obviously. But then you got Phil Kessel. So it's like a reuniting of the old school.
In so many ways, because and then you got Jimmy Rutherford, who's just pulling all the strings. Who was like he brought Phil over in Pittsburgh. So it's crazy. It's crazy. No, they're having a tremendous season, man. And I did not even think they were going to make the playoffs again. And that was mostly just because, like, even though the team on paper was good, even though they had a good surge at the end of last year, it was one of those things where it's like, it's 10 years of sadness, 10 years of, okay, it's a pretty good team on paper, but they're just not putting it, together on the ice. Just cynical because of the Louis Ericssons, the OELs just not playing well, in Vancouver, respectively. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I was admittedly cynical coming into this season. I was higher on some teams I shouldn't have been high on. I was lower on teams I probably shouldn't have been as low on. But that's what's fun about being a sports fan, man. And I always say, like, I'm no expert. I'm a fan. I'm a
Right.
junkie when it comes to hockey and combat sports. And I'm not an expert speaking truth here. I'm just speaking my opinion. And I'm happy when I'm wrong half the time, because it just means things are exciting. Things aren't the way they're predicted, the favorites.
I know that's what I've always been a fan of in any sport, is you root for the underdogs, man, right? Like it's always more fun to root for the Detroit Lions this year, for example, right?
They're the only team I cared about. Don't tell Vikings fans as I look at my skull sign in the corner
here. Right? Like once it was Kansas City and San Francisco again, a lot of us were like, oh, come on, again? Like, come on. Like I don't want to see that again. We want to see the underdogs, right? We want to see the Buffalo Bills make it to the Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years and try and overcome the Scott Norwood curse, right? We want to see the Detroit Lions under Dan Campbell, who everybody laughed at, make it to the Super Bowl, and they didn't. And everybody was crushed, even though the game was great. But yeah, it's like going back to the Canucks and everything. Like it's cool. I like watching those like overachieving teams,
and they're a fun team to watch. Their product is score goals. Score fucking goals. That's how we're going to win. We're going to outshoot you. We're going to outscore you.
Yeah, the Canucks played the Coyotes somewhat recently, and it's actually a really, really entertaining game. And I think the Canucks ended up winning that game pretty late. But they play hard, man. They're a fun team to watch. They fly around like crazy. It's like I'm not watching the Rick Tocchet Coyotes, who are kind of a bore to watch, right? And basically just sat back and had to. Their goaltending, right? They had to rely on their goaltending. The Canucks are not that. It's like Rick Tocchet's finally got some pieces to play with, and he's letting them go, and I love that.
Well, and he's been able to like help get the pieces he wants. Like Kuzmenko trade to Calgary. Like Kuzmenko's a good player. Like I joked that all the Canucks needed at the deadline was Kuzmenko to play as well as he did last year again, and boom, they got their goal scorer back. Didn't work under Rick Tocchet's system. You get Lindholm in the deal? Are you kidding me? Like they have now an insurance plan if Pettersson decides that he can't nor want to sign back with the Vancouver Canucks. Like it's absolutely insane. So yeah, props to everything they're doing there. I know Minnesota Wild fans here rolling their eyes. They're like, yeah, we get it. Your team's good. Our team sucks right now. But hey, no, the Minnesota Wild, they are above 500 now. And anyways, we'll get to some of our Wild talk here in the closing segment with Richie. But I want to get back to talking about this young core that the Arizona Coyotes have right now. Where do you think, because they have an awesome young core, both on the ice right now, guys that they're icing right now who are developing at the National Hockey League level, but you guys also have a lot of great prospects in the cupboard, and you're probably going to get one this year again, like you said. Where do you think this team's young core ranks amongst the obvious ones in, Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit, who are the other three teams out there who we're all kind of waiting for to pop and have like this awesome young core of pieces as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not a big like NHL prospect guy, so I couldn't really tell you much about those other teams. But if I remember correctly, the Coyotes were still top 7 or 8 in the league in terms of their prospect pool, according to a lot of the experts, and that's kind of where they are, right? Like they got some more guys coming along, right? Maverick Lamoureux played for Canada at the World Junior Championships. He was got one of the letters on that team. I've been thoroughly surprised with how well he's performed in the Q this year, and he's really coming along. Another guy who's 6'8". That's the thing. Like, go look at the Coyotes draft hauls last year or so under Bill Armstrong. Every single guy is 6'5" and above. It's just,
I think we talked about this before. I don't know if we talked about it on a podcast or not, but you and I have definitely talked about this before because, like, you know me, old.
I think we did it. Actually, I think we did it. I think you and I did a draft show or something, right? And,
oh my god! So no, Hoppy and I, yes, we were streamed for like freaking 5 hours. We're both in one at that point, and I was like, I think I messaged you on Twitter. Or no, you were watching, and we were like, "Yo, you want to come on?" And you're like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, that's right. And that's like one of the big things I talked about is like you go look at their pool, and that's all guys 6'4" or taller, 6'5" or taller.
I'm gonna share it on screen here.
Yeah, like Lamoureux is one of them. Connor Geekie, who's having an insane season.
Dude, Geekie's good
this year. He got traded. I don't remember where he's playing right at the moment, but yeah, he's 6'4" plus, right? Shimashev, Daniel Boot, both of those guys, big mofos, right? It's incredible. This team in like 3 years from now is gonna be just a
Bro.
bunch of 7-foot guys on skates, just like, and they're all good skaters too, right? Like I remember I was talking to Z, and he was trying to talk me down off of the ledge about the Coyotes draft this
Yep.
year, and he was like, go watch these highlights. These kids can skate, man. Like
Oh.
they're really good skaters, and they are. And so it's like,
Yes, they
so
are.
it's a slow burn, but we're getting there. Like, I hope Connor Geeky, I have a feeling, I think he's going to play in the AHL next year is my guess. I think that's a really good place for him to be. Kind of like what they did with Dylan Gunther. It's like, you're not in any rush here.
Oh no.
Give them some AHL time and let them develop more. And I think that's the right course of action for Bill Armstrong. But yeah, man, it's good. Bill Armstrong has been a great drafter. Like I said, Logan Cooley's come in, played well. JJ Moser was a mid-round pick a couple years ago, and he's been the NHL level ever since, right? So they're coming along, they're getting there. And it's been exciting to watch for the most part over this course of the season. It's been terrible lately, but it's been, for the most part, it's been entertaining, which is all I could ask for.
Yeah, and I guess as far as seeing the positive progression with the prospect, that's all you can ask for as well, because no one in Arizona and outside thought that this team was going on a run this year, even in a weaker Western Conference.
Again, they were in a playoff spot, up until maybe a couple weeks before the All-Star break. They were like right neck and neck there, with like the Predators and such, battling for a playoff spot, and now they've gone back into the bottom 5 of the league, which is insane.
I'm pretty sure Hoppy was betting on them at that point too, when because they were underdogs still, despite them winning. And yeah, I know some people who were making some money off the Coyotes. They were loving it. You're
welcome, everybody.
There you go. There's another kid, and I was quickly trying to do some research on the fly that Z's swooning over. I don't think he's quite first round draft pick level yet, but he might be like early second or late first. And I think he's like 6'4". And he's like, he actually can skate and has some hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure he's a defenseman. His defense partner's tiny, so it's like one of those, like, it's just hilarious to watch. But yeah, apparently he's got some steam right now. He's been rising on everybody's draft rankings. I think even Bobby Mack had him like early second round. I have to go back and check. But anyways, he talked about him early this season. So like,
yeah, mark him down, dude.
I could see the Arizona Coyotes targeting him.
6'4" defenseman. That's the one thing that the Coyotes are light on right now and it's been their weakest point all season long, is their blue line has been awful. It's been terrible. They haven't been producing the offense, and they're not very good defensively either. Led by former Wild defenseman Matt Dumba, who's been absolute trash. Garbage. He's been terrible. I know you guys are probably sick of him up there in Minnesota.
We were Dumba defenders more than anything. We kind of were like, okay, like, this guy's gonna have to cheat to play his game, and when it works, it's worth it. But when the offense isn't there, when he doesn't have that,
all he's good for is he will throw one big hit a game. And other than that, he's a waste of space.
When he tried to fight Tkachuk again, I was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? I know it's the other Tkachuk, but like, you don't fight any Tkachuks anymore. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, the Wild market is torn, and I think still torn, and forever will be torn on.
And do you want him back? He's available in a trade.
Oh, we're good. We got Brock Faber. We're good.
For like a 5th round draft pick or something.
Speaking of defensemen, we briefly talked about it on a podcast a few months ago, because this did happen a little while ago. But the whole Yusuf Valimaki hospital incident in Dallas, I mean, it made national news, but in a couple paragraphs on ESPN, one paragraph here on Sports Tech. It didn't make the rounds like it did in local media there in Arizona. Can you speak on that a little bit more? And for anybody who missed it on our podcast, give us any details we might have missed from, again, those just surface level media outlets on the matter. Because this was a crazy story regarding the former Calgary Flame first rounder pick out of the WHL, Yusuf Valimaki.
Yeah, so Coyotes were playing in Dallas at the time, and he took a slap shot right to the face, 95 miles an hour, right to the face. And he immediately obviously left the ice and was unfortunately due to crazy circumstances, which we still don't really know. It was late getting to the hospital, right? So I'm going to read from this story just so I can get some of the details correctly here. Let's see. Yeah. This is from what Bill Armstrong said about it. I'll just kind of read what he said. He said, I remember texting the trainer right away, even though the game was going on. Where is he? How bad is it? They said, hey, it's bad. He's left the ice in an ambulance. We've got one of our sports science guys moving with him right now, and his wife's getting to the hospital, which is crazy that his wife was with them at this point in time. Frank Sorvalli said that Valimaki received 55 stitches, and despite needing immediate surgery, he was told by an overworked Dallas hospital to find a local hotel and return in the morning due to more critical incoming trauma patients. He reportedly had the surgery at 2:00 in the afternoon the following day after the game, 12 hours after receiving stitches. And NHLPA has, kind of looked into this, and I don't think we've still got a resolution to this, but yeah, you're right. Guy has a broken jaw, and he's treated like basically any other individual. And
get in line. Yeah. Timmy over here needs stitches from ball hockey, so we're gonna get him in first. What is this, Canada?
It's like that's the thing. When I saw this story, I was like, geez, that's ridiculous. Welcome to the American healthcare system, everybody.
Damn.
That's
Damn. You guys make fun of the Canadians for their ER weights. And this is insane.
Yeah, I forget how long he was out. He was out for a month or so, and he came back and was wearing the full cage. Which I
can't believe he came back a month after that too.
Yeah, I want to say it's about a month or so, and he was wearing the full cage, which he just got off actually within the last week or so. But yeah, it's crazy, and it's funny. It's funny. Like we were talking before the show, and you reminded me about it. And I was like, I'd almost forgotten about it. Like it was so long ago. It's
just one of those wild and wacky NHL stories, and there's not a lot of them in hockey. I take that back. There's a lot of them out east. There's not a lot of them in the National Hockey League. So whenever there is one, I want to highlight it and just
I'm just picturing this happening to an NFL player.
Oh, right. It wouldn't.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, I found the I found the hockey player's name. His name is Anton Silayev. He's 6'7", bro.
Oh, he's in the KHL too. So
yeah,
this is
the perfect pick for.
Yes, I'm gonna start tweeting this guy out. I'm gonna start going hard and
tag Z2. He'll love it.
And be like, this dude is going to be picked by the Coyotes. It's MO. It's the exact MO of Bill Armstrong.
6'7", and he can skate, bro. I can't wait for this guy to come into the National Hockey League. Let's freaking go. Unbelievable. All right. So I saw today, dude, Sunday, the time of this recording, that the Arizona Coyotes have launched a streaming package. Can you speak a little bit about this? And then we can transition to, does this mean that they're staying in Arizona? Because, well, we'll get into that in a second. First of all, talk about the streaming package.
So here's my question to you to lead off this discussion.
Okay.
How do people in Minnesota watch Wild games? Is it still Bally Sports?
It's still Bally Sports right now. Yes.
Okay. So this is how this all begins. So we know that Bally Sports and Diamond Sports Group, the regional sports television providers, bankrupt, right? And so they've been kind of trying to get out of their deals because they can't afford this anymore, obviously. So the Coyotes were one of those. And so the rights at the end of last year expired, or they decided not to pick up the rights with the Coyotes. So the Coyotes basically own their rights back on themselves. And then they went and, they have since sold it off to airing on local television here for free over the air with an antenna, which is awesome.
Oh, that's amazing, because you like the blackouts everywhere, even in Canada for local sports. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it was one of the best decisions that Alex Miller has ever made. It's more people can watch games, right? I think I saw a story earlier this year where the ratings were skyrocketing, especially when the team was playing really well, because it became so much easier to watch games. So that's what this is a part of now, which is
nice.
There are some Coyotes fans who didn't have an antenna, couldn't get it to work in bad reception areas.
Yeah, everyone's online now too, so it makes sense to have both.
Exactly.
Both options.
You can watch it on your phone, and you can
that's so awesome.
rewind and record, et cetera, I think with this. So that's what this is for. It's for those people who want to do that. It's they haven't announced for next year, but for the rest of this year, it's $25 to watch the rest of the season. You can watch replays and things like that. And there's supposed to be exclusive content as well, but I'm not going to do it. Because I can watch the games for free. My antenna works perfectly fine.
It's still $25 is nothing for the rest of the season. That's nothing.
Oh, no. Yeah. So if that's, and I've already seen some people on Coyotes Twitter were really excited about it. So it just took them a while to get it going. But yeah, if it means that more people can watch Coyotes games here in Arizona, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. By the way, do you know who runs their Twitter account? Be honest with me. I know you. Be honest, because I know you know people in that organization, and
I don't,
they are goated in my mind. They're goated in my mind.
Yeah, I don't cover the team as much as I used to, so I'm not around, the people who cover the team as much. But I don't know. I've seen some rumors about who may be a part of it, and it makes sense. I can't confirm those, so I'm not. You can go look; they're out there. I'm not going to repeat them. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
It's almost like they're famous though. They're like the Banksy of fucking of NHL Twitter. No, I'm not even kidding. Like, no, it's like a cult following from the beginning of the season. It's unbelievable.
I love it, and there are Coyotes fans that absolutely hate it. But here's the thing: like you and I, we're both in marketing in some way, shape, or form, right? For our YouTube channels, for our shows, right? One thing that I hate about that kind of stuff is a lot of times things are too corporate and you can't stand out that way. I'm sorry. Okay. Right. But what the Coyotes are doing this year, and I love it, is they're just going all in, man. It's unique. It's funny. It's makes me laugh all the time. And it's like, dude, why don't other sports teams become like this, right? Like the Golden Knights were, I think, the first team for me that kind of like really
started to troll a little bit.
On being a little bit more troll centric, right? And having a little bit more fun, especially on Twitter and other social media channels. But the guys have taken it to another level. And there's some people that absolutely hate it. Like you go look at any replies and you'll see Coyotes fans like, please stop this. Don't do this anymore. Quit this. I'm like, no, don't, man. It makes me laugh, especially when the team is garbage right now and they're not playing really well. At least have some fun, Well,
that's the thing. It feels like it's more having fun than it is like taking shots at other teams and things like that. Because it's not that. Like Philly, for example, could really play up like it's gritty behind this account sort of thing and just be absolute dicks. And it would work too because it's Philly. But that's not even what Arizona's doing as being like the underdogs here. They're making fun of themselves. They're making like literally they're like breaking fourth walls as like this masked user is like making fun of himself or herself. Or themselves, thinking that like, I could get fired any day now, so I'm just gonna keep going ham with this. And it's incredible. I knew you might have your assumptions. I didn't think you'd crack. I didn't think I'd get an answer.
No, it's like I said, I went to journalism school, and my journalism standards are. I still kind of abide by those here, so I don't want to spread rumors.
So it's Richie, everybody. It's Richie.
Can you imagine?
I like. There's like a percentage, the small percentage. Yes, let's just say
because I will get snarky as hell. Like it's yes.
Let's just say there's a friend of mine who may or may not be next week's guest. You know who you are, sir. Who he convinced me that he was this account and that was his burner account, and I was the only one out of our group who believed him, and I feel really stupid about that. And forever, I'm going to be scarred forever because of that. So I don't know what to believe anymore when it comes to hockey burner accounts. Thanks, Seth. Anyways, most recently the national, hell, even international narrative around the Arizona Coyotes suggested that the team had to make an announcement on if they're staying or if they're going by the All-Star break. Locally, Coyotes fans already knew that wasn't true. That wasn't the actual deadline, and it had been altered to the end of the 2024 first quarter or the end of the regular season. I think April 18th was the official deadline. A shift confirmed publicly earlier this week by both the team and Gary Bettman, who I imagine are both very happy with that. Again, man, and I know whenever we bring you on now, it's like a broken record. We have to talk about this, but
I know.
You've covered this team for some time now. This is like how are you feeling as a fan? Honestly, because 10 years ago, there were quotes coming out in articles saying that like the teams had packed everything up and they were on their way to Seattle. That was 10 years ago. They're still here, and it feels like every
it's been this
single
way
year
since they went into bankruptcy in 2009 when the NHL took them over. So this has been going on for almost 15 years.
So what's different about this season right now as we get closer to the end of the season than in seasons past? When, especially since you guys are year 2 at a freaking college rink that's not like a Minnesota college or high school rink here, respectfully. It's a nice rink, the Mullet Arena, but it ain't no 10,000 seater, ain't no 8,000 seater, right? Like, enough's enough.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the latest, right? It's there's gonna be a meeting with the land people out here in Arizona. I forget the name of the group, but coming up in March.
Land people, I just think freaking
the land people.
what's from Star Wars? The Tusken Raiders.
The Tusken Raiders, the sand people. Yeah, yeah. We don't have a lot of. Well, we do have some sand up in the desert areas, so I guess that's true.
Rich is a Star Wars nerd, so I had to bring that up.
So the land folks who handle the sales of Arizona state land, they have it on their docket for March to discuss this parcel of land that Alex Murillo's group is going after. So they're in the process of trying to buy about 100 acres of land in the northern part of Phoenix, is what we're looking at here. So from what I understand, they originally put in the paperwork to try and purchase this land almost a year ago, back in June.
Okay.
This is what the Arizona Republic had this a couple weeks ago, and kind of broke this story. And it takes a long time, right? So much red tape to try and buy land. So we're kind of on that timeline still, and it's seemingly heading in the direction that that piece of land is gonna go up for auction sometime later this summer.
Okay.
And that's when we'll kind of find out. Basically, if the Coyotes win the land auction, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. If the Coyotes lose that land auction, then I don't know what happens from there. Right. That at that point in time, I think the NHL is at a point where they try and force a sale, and they try and look at some local buyers. Craig Morgan from PHNX mentioned on his podcast this week that there are a few local buyers who might be interested in the team if they ever came up for sale. One of who is unconfirmed and has only said that we'll maybe think about it if it ever happens, is the owner of the Phoenix Suns, Matt Ishbia, who a lot of Coyotes fans are like kind of hoping that he might be the saving grace here. But yeah,
that'd be awesome. That'd be best case Ontario, as they say up there.
For me, yes, absolutely. I if Murillo can't get this land deal done and can't secure a new arena here, then yes, I think Matt Ishbia, honestly, like, dude, he was just on Pat McAfee's show this week, and they're like, dude, what's your net worth? And he was like, I don't care about that stuff. And then one of the Toxic Table guys was like, oh, $8 billion. So,
yeah, you can wipe your ass with the Coyotes payroll at that point.
Yeah, so he bought the Suns for $4 billion. Okay, the Coyotes right now are worth about $500 million. That's a tip in the bucket for him, dude. Like,
honestly, it's just gonna increase the value. Like, buying the team will increase the value right there, because the association with the Suns alone, dude, with both teams and and they could choose to do nothing as far as like cross promotion is the wrong word, but just working together. But even just a little bit will help the Coyotes so much, dude.
I agree. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's done a great job with the Phoenix Suns. He's beloved by folks here in Arizona for what he's done in terms of he did the same thing, right? He left the Bally Sports Group and put the Suns on free TV as well.
Yeah.
And he spent money on a program where you could sign up and the Suns would send you an antenna for free, right?
Wow.
He just spent $100 million. Again, great interview with him on Pat McAfee.
I love Pat McAfee, by the way. Shout to his show.
Me too. I'm a fan of Pat's as well. Surprisingly, I think, for a lot of people. But yeah, he just spent $100 million on upgrading facilities for the Phoenix Mercury, the WNBA team, right? So He cares, man, and he's investing. So He's like a possibility out there. Murillo can't get
That's
this done.
cool.
So, but to answer your question here in the longest form possibly I can, and again, you and I have done this. Like, I feel like every year we do at least an hour on this every year, right?
Yep.
So I just come back for an update for everybody, which is just like, I'm at the point where like, I will believe it when I see it, whatever happens. I'm just like, I'm sick of it. I just want an answer. Damn it. Just tell us what the hell's going to happen. If they want to like, I honestly like, it's one of those things that's like, I don't want to wait another year just for them to leave to Salt Lake. If you're going to leave to Salt Lake, fucking go. Just get out of here. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I want an answer already. I'm sick of it after 15 years.
Your money, your time, your emotion, and your fucking heart in a team that's going to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think, there's people who think they're going to move to Salt Lake City next year. I don't think that's the case.
No.
I don't think that's the case. If anything, they have one more year left on their like Mullet Arena agreement, and then they'll move type of thing. Like if worst case scenario, that's what we're talking here.
I'll tell you one thing. They're not going to Quebec because I think the reason that Patrick was coaching the NHL now is because of that dream of him being the god of whatever Quebec team comes in for the NHL, because that he wanted in at like he wanted to be general manager, coach, fucking health advisor, he wanted every role, I believe.
It was so funny when Gary Bettman got asked about that at his press conference at the All-Star game. He was like shit talking Quebec in this press conference, which was really funny. He got asked about it. He was like, no, on our radar.
Well,
he did bring up some other things.
Arena is 12 years old now. It ain't new anymore, bro. It's been sitting there, cobwebs. My favorite thing in regards to the Quebec Arena, though, is when Brian Burke was still president of the Calgary Flames, and he was trying to get the city to help fund, like taxpayers to help fund a new arena because they had just upgraded due to like a flood. And I've been to the Saddle Dome many times. It's horrendous for the acoustics are terrible. It's a fucking saddle, bro. There's no roof and indents. So the acoustics there for concerts is terrible, horrendous. And it's just old. They had freaking tube TVs in the concourse because back in the 80s for the Olympics, that was new. So it was far past a facelift. They need to knock it down and rebuild on the same property, but just like rebuild there. I mean, they do Stampede stuff there every year, which is like, Canada's biggest Stampede, and it's just old. And Brian Burke was like ripping on some like the city like officials and treasurers and things like that, being like, I can move to Quebec any second now. I can move this team to Quebec any second tomorrow. And it was just there's some awesome quotes. He was going back and forth with the reporter because Burke didn't do his tie up right before he before he was on TV anyways. And so like we had reporters like ripping on, be like, well, at least he can tie a tie. And you could just see him just fucking fuming. Oh man. All right, a couple more things here, Richie. And again, I appreciate your time. Olympics, they never really went anywhere, but the NHL players are back in the Olympics. That is right. An agreement has finally been set. All parties have come to agreement, IOC, IHF, and the National Hockey League. We went over this in a recent podcast like 2 weeks ago, so we won't get into like the details of it, but I do want to talk to Richie about this topic and a couple other subtopics that are involved, because I know how much of just a general hockey fan you are, even outside of the NHL. You as an American, me as a Canadian, like we go nuts when it comes to international play, and finally we get to see like a real best US team with the Hughes brothers, with the Kachucks, up against a team on the Canada side that could by 2025 have Crosby, McDavid, Bedard, and a Nathan McKinnon on. How excited were you when you heard this news?
The Olympics news was great, dude. Like some of the best hockey moments of the last 20 years have been Olympic hockey, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
I would say of all time, to be perfectly honest. I would say even if you go way back in the history books.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Miracle on Ice. Absolutely.
100%.
But yeah, so I was like, when this news came out, I texted my friends. I texted Corey and her husband. I was like, man, this takes me back, because the last time that the NHL was in the Olympics was 2014, Sochi. Right? Because 2014, yeah. So they didn't because they didn't go in 2018 or 2022, right? So the last time they were in the Olympics was 2014, and at the time, me, Corey, and Scotty, all of us were still in school together, and so and we had a class together at the time. This was my last semester of school. And so the three of us would always, after our class, go down to like the main like student union, and we would watch Olympic hockey, the three of us together. Like I still have a picture of us watching, I think it was one of the US games, right?
They were early for us. They were early for us on Pacific time. I remember getting up super early for the gold medal game.
Yes, exactly. And so yeah, so that was like one of my core memories of like our friendship is the three of us like watching these games together, right? And then of course that same Olympics we had TJ Sochi, which was like flipping awesome, right? Like I remember watching that at like 6 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Like I was like, getting up early and watching and going, oh, this is so cool. So, and then even go back to 2010, which is heartbreaking to me. All right, heartbreaking to me.
I think every American that was that was one of the craziest games ever. That was one of the best US teams and the best Canadian teams I've seen internationally, and they were even. They were going head to head, man.
Yeah, that was honestly like, man, I haven't gone back and watched that game in a long time. But from my memory at the time, and I used to say this for a couple of years after, that was maybe the greatest hockey game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree.
It was so good, right? Like my memory is very, very shady, but if I remember correctly, like there was I don't remember if it was Canada, US, scored a fairly late goal in the third period in that game to even get it to overtime. I may be correct. Going crazy about that. It was 10 years ago at this point, but 14 years ago at this point. But I remember at the time, like it was cool because at the time here in the United States, they would tape delay a lot of the Olympic coverage, right? And they would put it on, or they would either tape delay it or they would air it live on the East Coast and then delay it on the West Coast, right? Yeah. So this was like one of the first times I can remember, and this was obviously in Canada, so it was like, prime time across for the United States, right? And they actually aired this game live across the entire country.
Wow.
And it was an incredible game. So I cannot wait for 2026. It may be even better than anything we've ever seen because the talent pool is so much better.
Dude,
it's not just for the United States, but all the other countries as well. Like it's going to be so freaking cool, man.
It's going to be amazing. And dude, like I know we're talking about US and Canada because like they're the top tier, but like you're talking about like a Finland and Sweden and fucking, well, I don't know what the Russia situation will be. They're going to have a meeting on that soon. But like all these teams are getting like a massive boost here. Like they're all. I actually really hope it's like they're all going on the Russian gas, like all those Russians were at Sochi. Which fuck the Russians at Sochi. We wiped the floor with them in hockey, the North Americans, and we weren't even on your juice, motherfuckers. So shout out to the movie Icarus. But yeah, fuck the Russians at Sochi, man. Every single one of them was juicing, hockey side and all.
Mm-hmm.
They're all.
As a hockey fan, like just as a hockey fan, I want to see the Russians in the Olympics in 2026. Just as a hockey fan, because
I think they might be Olympic athletes of Russia still. I think they're having a meeting to see like if they're actually going to represent the flag or not. Same with Belarus, right? Because they're the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, not getting like Alex Ovechkin and some of these other kids like in the Olympics is kind of wild. Like if you want to have an Olympic tournament, that's best on best. The Russian hockey team is like one of them, right? Like
like Kaprizov is not a Russian Olympic champion or gold medalist. He's an Olympic athlete of a hockey team in an Olympics that won a gold medal.
Right.
Oh my goodness. All right. Just quickly on this too. I feel like I'm on an island here because I think that the World Cup of hockey is the dumbest shit ever because no one is going to be playing at the level that you want to see in international play because it's right before National Hockey League season. They're trying to remain injury free. And two, it's just not as good as the World Championship because though the World Championship is after the regular season, guys who still have a little gas left in the tank are going to go there to try to win something, to try to salvage something, or if they're on an end of an NHL deal, maybe try to make some noise to get a new contract. And it's a great opportunity for some of the younger guys as well on bad teams to go and represent their country and get some international experience. So I actually don't mind the World Championships at all because they're still playing at a high level. But you and I may disagree on the team like North America and all that bullshit. But and their jerseys, some people like them. That's anyways. Shout out to Team Europe too. If we're gonna we're gonna throw them all, push all the chips in the center. But overall, like, what are your thoughts on the World Cup of Hockey and this Four Nations tournament that's going to be mid-season that the IIHF also announced in their announcement with the NHL and IOC to bring back NHL players to the Olympics?
Oh, it's gonna suck, dude. Like, I'm not gonna watch this tournament. Are you kidding me? Like, okay. So this is supposed to take place over All-Star Weekend. Here we go. Okay, so February 12th through the 20th is when this is supposed to take place, right?
Yeah.
Let's see when the Super Bowl is, just for shits and giggles next year. Super Bowl 59. I think it's actually around the same time. February 9th is when the Super Bowl is next year. So they're after the Super Bowl, which is smart.
Yeah, because no one's watching this Super Bowl weekend.
Exactly. So it's middle of the season. It doesn't mean crap. I don't know if they're playing for anything, right? They're not playing for like extra prize money. They're not any of that stuff. It's like nobody wants to get hurt in this tournament, right? In the middle of the season, you're in a Stanley Cup push. Nobody wants to get hurt. It's just not going to work. The hockey's going to be bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I think we both agree with that. It's gonna feel like
an all-star game
hockey to me.
It's gonna feel like an all-star game.
Preseason hockey is what it's gonna feel like. It's just not gonna work. It's not the same. Like, I'd much rather have, like, the PWHL this year has been great. It's been
so good.
Anytime I've tuned in to watch, it's been so fun to watch.
Oh wow! Allow women to hit in hockey, and look what happens. It's amazing.
And they're drawing 15,000 plus people, right? They're selling out.
I love to see it, and they don't even have fucking logos yet.
Exactly, and that's the hockey people want to watch. They don't want to watch meaningless, mid-season, watered down hockey for a week. You know, it's not going to work. And as somebody who I actually really remember really enjoying the World Cup of Hockey as it originally took place, like, that was super fun because we got to see Team North. I think Team North America is what made that tournament fun because this was like the first kind of big tournament with Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews and these young kids who are now superstars, right? And I think that's what made that tournament fun for the most part because of that team.
Because they got to showcase them, yeah,
and it was before the season, right? So it made a little bit more sense to do it then, kind of like the World Baseball Classic and for baseball, right? So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a World Baseball Classic, and it's just not going to work because what makes the World Baseball Classic work is the fans care. If you go back and watch any of those games, right, it's packed. It's jam packed.
Japan won this year, right?
It was Japan. Yes, Japan.
Yeah, and I remember that was the and I know the Japanese, like, they actually really fucking love their baseball. The Japanese actually really love their sports, guys. Like, their wrestling is like I think it's only second to like the United States in the Olympics as far as gold medals. And their baseball is crazy. I mean, look at some of the stars that come out of Japan too. And I remember watching some clips of the audience, just, dude, insanity, partying in the streets after too in Tokyo. It was nuts.
And yeah, that's the thing. And the NHL is not going to get that with this, right? You're not going to have. You're going to have it's going to be like a normal NHL game. We're going to have people dressed up in Canada. You're going to have people in Canada, people in United States jerseys, people in Sweden jerseys, whatever. And it's going to be like another game. It's not going to have that atmosphere that makes the World Baseball Classic must-watch TV for baseball fans. And
yeah, that makes Olympic hockey must-watch TV because Olympic hockey is it's more special as a hockey fan than your team in the Stanley Cup final. Like,
it means something.
Mm-hmm.
The Olympics actually mean something. Having a gold medal from a Four Nations Who Cares.com cup isn't going to mean crap, dude.
Well, it's like, and I think I said this. I love that. Who cares? If it's not the Olympics, especially if it's before or mid-season, if it's not the Olympics, it's a liability because the Olympic trumps, and it's Olympic gold medal, like Olympic best on best gold medal, Stanley Cup, fucking, I don't know, World Junior, World Championship, however you want to, stack the next one up there, right? Like that's the order, right? That's the order. I'm sure if you're in college and junior, at that point of junior, championship, but like that's the big order there in which the championships rank. And like you want that, like Tavares didn't want to get injured. No one wants to get injured, but like he put himself on the line that year in Sochi and it derailed the Islanders season. The Islanders actually were good at the halfway point in that season. They weren't happy about that, but the whole hockey community and like hockey culture understood that's like, it's the Olympics. We're not going to blame him for that. If he broke his leg in the fucking 4 seasons, fucking 4 nations championship, dude, everyone would be pissed, and it would
never happen again.
Yeah, and rightfully so, right? Rightfully so. So,
because I think they're trying to basically, like, I don't know, they're doing this at first as like okay, let's see if anybody cares, and then eventually they want to make it into a bigger World Cup of Hockey style tournament.
Just put a little bit more oomph and marketing into the World Championship. Well, I guess it's because the Stanley Cup's going on. They don't want to take viewers from that, but whatever. I'm still like, again, I like the World Championships because it's more competitive than the fucking World Cup of hockey. But anyways, we can move on. Let's talk a little bit about the Minnesota Wild here, and then we'll wrap things up, Rich, because we've already gone almost an hour, and that's you and me. We could literally talk off and on air, sports, life, the whole 9 yards. Like, we haven't even gotten into music yet, so maybe we have to put that on the shelf for next time, because there actually are some new bands that I wanted to share with you, but we're running out of time for that. So there's just incentive for you to come on again soon, before the end of the season.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Instead of another year.
In 6 months when the Coyotes are moving to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, or any developments or not in that story, we'll bring you on soon.
If the Coyotes do move to Salt Lake City, do you think I should move with them and just become like the
100%.
guy? Become like
100%.
Become the Salt Lake City guy, and just
you have the resume.
Turn into a full-on Mormon. Just culture. We gotta embrace myself in the culture. Like, I can pull.
But you're gonna get in shape. You're gonna get in shape with that altitude. Seriously, it's people who train up in Salt Lake, man.
Mm-hmm.
Cardio for days. Hell, you might even make the team at that point.
We were joking. Sorry to derail on a tangent, but I was joking with some friends of mine. We were like, dude, nobody wants to. You think Clayton Keller wants to play in Salt Lake City over Scottsdale? Right? You think Clayton Keller wants to give up golfing on his off days?
Or Kansas City, for that matter. You think he wants to go to fucking, like, and I hear Kansas City is like fun to go visit, but like, you want to live in Kansas City over Arizona? Like, come on.
No, yeah. People aren't going to fucking Salt Lake City. God, no. It ain't going to work there, dude.
No. Again, I know this isn't in the works, but like, Houston, I get it. Texas, I get it. And everybody loves living in Texas. Everybody who I know who's gone to Texas and who's moved there, and I have cousins who live there as well. First cousins. They love Texas. Everybody loves Texas. But Salt Lake and KC, and again, that's no disrespect to anybody who's there. Every city has their attractions. And I've heard good things about KC, but I can't imagine, especially over golf guys. Shout out Waggle Golf. He works with our friends at Waggle Golf, by the way. So they're a partner of us here on the Sota Pod. Richie, I don't golf, but like they have some great funky golf apparel that nobody else has out there. That's great for just like business casual gear as well. So if like I have a meeting and don't want to be in a hoodie, I'm in pajamas and a hoodie right now. Or if I'm going to an event or whatever, like I'm a big Waggle Golf guy. I love their hats. You know me, like I'm usually just a snapback guy. I think this might be the first time ever you see me with a hat like forward. It's because I actually look good in hats facing forward from Waggle. And we do have a promo code, guys. So humble plug here. SP10 for 10% off. Check it out. GetYourWaggleOn.com. They ship it to Canada. And they're a great USA and local Minnesota golf brand. And they have a ton of athletes in Arizona as well who are representatives. And funny enough, now that you've seen like kind of this logo, you'll probably start seeing and noticing a lot of like shorts on YouTube are brand ambassadors for them as well. Like that Chef Kuso guy from Buffalo, he's always wearing those Waggle hats as well. So anyways, shout out to them. Last thing here. As we move into a little bit of Minnesota Wild talk, another ambassador for Waggle Golf, and who, in my opinion, arguably had one of the best hat collabs that the company has done, Brock Faber. Now, I know you follow a little bit of college hockey, given that you're ASU fan. Like everybody who followed college hockey last year and arguably the year before, they knew who Brock Faber was. Honestly, maybe the best defenseman in college hockey last year. I certainly think so. And again, I follow the Gophers more than anybody else, but I'm from Canada. I'm not a big college hockey guy. I haven't followed it enough to really have like a biased opinion, right? But do you think with Bedard being in and out of the lineup due to injury, kind of like what happened in McDavid's first year where Panarin snagged it from him just because McDavid only played like 40 some games. Do you think Brock Faber has done enough and is deserving to win the Calder Trophy this year? And based on, I know the small sample that you've seen of him but heard about him through just the big hockey podcasts and just national coverage, do you think that he's potential to be just like a top guy, not only for the Minnesota Wild, but in the National Hockey League as a defenseman moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a stud in the league for sure. Absolutely. But I don't. If there's one thing I've learned from my time in the sports media, it's that the sports media loves a good narrative. Okay. And so a lot of times they will look at stats and they will see certain things, but it won't enter their brain because they want the narrative. That's what's going to happen this year, right? So Connor Bedard missed an entire month of the season, but he's still going to win the Calder Trophy, you know? Like, it's because people love their narrative, right? And I'm going to equate this to I'm going to go back to the NFL for a second. Because there were 2 awards that were given out this year that just made no sense. And one of which was the Offensive Rookie of the Year went to CJ Stroud over Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua from the Los Angeles Rams set records for rookie receivers. Okay. He literally set records as a 5th round draft pick out of BYU. And instead the sports media narrative was like, you know, the Texans were bad last year. Their quarterback was pretty good. You know what might be a better story than giving an award to a 5th round draft pick? Let's go with the quarterback from the Houston Texans. Let's give the Offensive Rookie of the Year award to him instead. All right. They stayed on the narrative there. The other one that really surprised me was Damar Hamlin, who damn near died in the middle of a National Football League game. Okay. And was back on the field this season as like a special teamer, did not win Comeback Player of the Year because Joe Flacco had 3 really good games and made the Browns made the playoffs. You know?
Yeah. No,
So that's
I
what's
get
gonna
you.
That's exactly what's gonna happen here. Is like Connor Bedard's gonna win the Calder, and
Connor
it's stupid,
McBard.
and it's ridiculous.
It's crazy though, because like, look, if you even if healthy and played all the 82 games now, 82 games of the season, like there is an argument though for the defenseman, and I know defensemen 9.8 times out of 10 do not win over the all-star stud flashy forward. It's just, and I understand it as a Hawk fan. I get it as somebody who worked in media, somebody who is a fan of the sport. I understand it. Connor Bedard, 41 games played, 36 points, 16 goals, minus 23, and his fancy stats aren't good. But again, it's a bad Chicago team. Like I'm not gonna dog him for that. But for what it's worth, the Minnesota Wild have not been a good team. Okay, they haven't been a good team either. Their defense is horrendous. They have one. Merrill and Goligoski should not even be in the league anymore. Okay, they shouldn't, because Mermis, call-ups from the AHL are better options than those 2 guys. And I'm not even playing up to the Wild fans' hatred of those 2 guys right now. It's true. They are awful. They are horrendous. Goligoski is done. Loved him when he was playing at his peak, Pittsburgh, Arizona, and even some moments of the Minnesota Wild when he came back. Dude, he's so bad right now. He's so bad. And John Merrill's the same. And the thing is, we were joking. We're like, do you think that they're aware of how bad they are right now? Like, I wonder if they do, because it's so bad, dude. So he actually doesn't have a lot of backup there. And he's playing 30 plus minutes every single night as a rookie in the National Hockey League, playing the longest season he's ever played in his life coming out of college. And he has 33 points in 54 games. He's a plus player, and his fancy stats are all tremendous. And if you watch him play defense, dude, he's breaking up, like 2 guys are on him and he's still nabbing the puck, getting out of there, turning, making a play. Like it blew my mind watching him in college last year. It's blowing my mind watching him play this year. Defense first. And I didn't think he had 33 points. I was like, maybe he's like 20. He's still setting up offense. Like I think, and again, I might be pandering to the Minnesota Wild fans listening to the podcast here right now. Injury, no injury. He has a better argument to be the Calder winner this year.
You probably might be right. Based on your description there, I was looking up his stats and his totals, and the fact that he's a rookie playing 30 minutes a night on the blue,
30 plus,
hard,
dude.
Yeah, that's hard to do, man.
Brodeen's been out with injury. Spurgeon
rookie,
shut down for the year. like if you think about it, he is the only guy on defense right now. It's crazy, man.
And we all know that defensemen generally take longer to develop into,
Not him.
NHL players, right?
He is the top defenseman on this team. The only player who plays more minutes than him as a defenseman in the National Hockey League on average a night is Drew Doughty. The only player.
That makes sense. I looked up the odds here on DraftKings here. Connor Bedard minus 380 is the favorite for the Calder. And then Brock Faber is second at plus 350.
Dude, I'm smashing that, to be perfectly honest. I'm smashing that like the Kai the murder hitchhiker was smash. I butchered that, but still, you know what I'm talking about. Do you think that injuries is mostly to blame for the derailment of the Wild season? Because coming into the season, they had arguably the same or even a little bit of an upgraded roster. Brock Faber over Matt Dumba. Everyone kind of thought that, Brock Faber would be better than Matt Dumba. But do you think injuries overall to Kaprizov and just some of the guys having to constantly shuffle in the lineup, do you think that's what kept them out of the race? Because I think they're out of it now.
Yeah, I watched them play the Coyotes the other night, and man, they look good. Like the Wild did. They outshot the Coyotes like 3-1, basically.
And they're healthy now, right? They're healthy now.
The Coyotes were basically never in that game, like whatsoever. And so, yeah, they seemingly, I don't watch a lot of them, obviously, but they seem to be playing pretty well. Like Marc-Andre Fleury, I don't know. I'm curious, like, first of all, I can't believe this guy's still in the league, for goodness sake.
Unreal. He's having a damn good season.
Yeah, I just looked it up. 283 goals against, 902 save. Like that's pretty good, dude, for a guy who just got past his 1000th game.
Well, and Gustafson's been injured in and out of the lineup, so Fleury's probably had to take more of a load than they hoped or planned him to going into the year.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to remember back to when I was doing some podcasts, kind of trying to put teams in and out of the playoffs, and I think I had the Minnesota Wild sneaking in as that last wild card, if I'm not mistaken.
I had them second or third in the division.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to remember, like, there's one team that's really surprised me this year, and I'm trying to remember who it is. That's like, I did not have them being actually in the contention for the playoffs. Let me see if I can look it up real quick and who it was that I was like, oh wow, I'm surprised they're hanging around. Let's see. In the West.
Winnipeg? A lot of people didn't think Winnipeg was going to be.
Yes, actually, I think
Philly, because Winnipeg and Philly are both hanging around.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Winnipeg. I didn't think Winnipeg would be
good.
As good as
They're mean, dude. They are a mean team to play.
A couple times I've seen them play against the Coyotes have been really tough. But like, I'm surprised like Seattle's not back in it this year. Like they've really taken
Canucks jumped them. Simple as that, right?
taking a tumble. Like the Kings being back in the playoff race is kind of wild. I did not think the Blues were going to be in the playoff race this year.
I didn't think so either. I thought the Blues would be ass this year, to be perfectly honest.
I actually had the Coyotes over the Blues in the Central this year, which doesn't appear to be the case because the Coyotes are now 10 points back.
Damn. Oh man. Well, again, from an outside perspective, looking at this team, I know you said they look good against the Coyotes there, and their offense is mostly healthy at this point. Obviously, Spurgeon and just the chaos that is the defense. It is what it is for the rest of the year. But with coming to the final year of the buyouts, the extension to some of the older guys on the team, but a very, very good prospect pool. Like the Minnesota Wild's prospect pool is actually like up there with some of the best in the league. What do you think is the main thing Billy Guerin has to do with this team moving forward? Like, you're a team that's competitive when you're all healthy, have bursting from the seams with prospects, and two Russian guys ready to come over who are over point per game. And one's over point per game in the KHL this year. One was kind of facing injuries and traded to a new team, but like both of them, top 6 guys. One's a center, one's a winger. And you have options on defense now and a young goaltender in the AHL, but you don't necessarily have the room for them yet. So what do you think is Billy Guerin's focus next year? Do you think it's a replacement for Marc-Andre Fleury? Do you think it's shedding some fat, getting rid of some of these good guys on the team still, but who are under contract and are just taking up cap space? Or do you bite the bullet one more year until that cap space or that cap hit from the Parise and Suter buyout is is done and you can really play with the team, play with the roster, what do you think is the main focus going into next year?
I mean,
This team's pretty much done.
You mentioned Marc-Andre Fleury. I feel like that's just unsustainable. Like they got to go find a number one goaltender. I don't know who might become available, but I feel like that should probably be your number one.
They have a top one in the AHL, but it's his first year in the AHL, so it's like, is it too quick? We don't know.
Right. And then like I think it's funny. First of all, I forgot that Alex Goligoski was still in the league.
Oh, good. Well, lucky you, dude. Lucky you. We get reminded of it every fucking week.
I loved watching him play in Arizona. He was one of my favorite players.
Bro, when he was good, he was good. But now he's bad, and it's like, why?
Yeah,
it's
like, almost 40, dude.
Dude, they're putting in. It's almost like they're like just throwing an injured horse out there to lose every single time, man.
Yeah. So throw him to the Flames. I'm assuming doesn't have much left in the tank either. But like, I will say this: Matt Boldy, dude.
He's good.
Dude is legit, man. Go back and watch the goal he scored against the Coyotes the other day. Like, this dude's legit, man. Like he was drafted, somewhat recently, and like I wasn't really aware of him much until watching him play against the Coyotes. Like, dude, this guy's legit. 6'2", 201 pounds. Like he's gonna be a fun player to watch, I think, for the Wild for sure.
Dude, he tore it up at BC in his second year. He was on him and Alex Newhook were on the same team. They both went to BC together, and yeah, they crushed it, man. They crushed it. Very good goal scorer. That's the thing. Like the Wild have so many good prospects coming up. Dude, they got a kid in Prince George right now who's leading the WHL. And put it this way, there's a guy on his line who's an overager who is like a 20-point guy and now is an 80-point guy. And the season's not even done yet, okay? And then there's a 17-year-old who's first year in the dub. He's like 76 points, 40 goals in like 52 games. And he's going to be, let's just say his parents better have bought Height, the prospect for the Minnesota Wild, the 18-year-old, a Rolex, a Tesla, a fucking Ford Raptor. I don't care because this kid's going to be drafted in the first round because of Riley Height. Like this kid is a difference maker. He's going to come in right into he's going to bypass the AHL. If there's room on the Wild team, he's that good, Richie. And he was a second rounder last year. And he's unreal. They have these two Russian kids. They got a Finnish kid in the O. They got a Czech kid in the O. I mean, they have so many guys here. They got a few guys in the AHL that they're probably going to have to trade because there's just no room for them on the Wild right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how, again, this is on the NHL management, not the prospect management, not the asset management. It's going to be on like the NHL management on how they make room for these guys moving forward because the Minnesota Wild might be more competitive than we thought, earlier than we thought, despite the buyouts. But you have to kind of play the chess game well. You can't fuck up here, or else you're going to have some contract shit to deal with in the near future. Richie, this has been an absolute pleasure as always, man. Really appreciate you. We're out of time, but we thank you for yours. Let us know where we can find you one more time on social media, your projects, and what you have coming up in the future in the world of media, my friend.
Sure. So you can follow the Motorsports Radio Show. It is at Speed Freaks on Twitter. I think it's at Official Speed Freaks on Instagram. I don't know why our handles are all different, but they are. Brand new podcast just started a couple months ago with one of my good friends. And you can follow us on all of your social media platforms. It's called 1 Hour 1 Brain Cell. It's a lot of fun to do. It's not a sports podcast. It's just my friend Jordan and I like bullshitting for an hour every week and roasting each other. It's at OHOBC Pod. There's Speed Freaks right there. And and there I am. You can follow me on Twitter at rflores91. And I was complaining last night about the dunk contest in the NBA. It was so bad, dude. It was so bad. I know you're not much of a basketball guy, but
I was watching UFC. I'm not gonna lie, but the UFC fight wasn't that great either.
So I know the UFC 300 like main event.
It finally got nice.
Yeah, ass. I'm me. I'm a very casual fan of UFC now, so like I tend to only tune in if like there's a big name that I really enjoy watching. So I was really hoping Conor McGregor would be on the 300 card.
So you are. I'm going to say you are a casual fan if you wanted that. There's no way he could make that card. It's too soon. Trust me. Like they wanted it too. But put it this way, Richie. This will be the final thing because everyone's signing off now. The podcast is like, oh god, he's just going to talk MMA. We're out of here. But for me, I was not underwhelmed because because A, it's a good fucking fight, and B, the UFC overhyped this with them bait and switching the fans for 3 months straight every week. Oh, we're going to announce it. It's going to be huge. Oh, no, we're going to announce Power Slap. Oh, we're going to announce it's going to be huge. Nah, Dana White's just on a Bud Light commercial in the Super Bowl. Oh, we're going to announce it's going to be huge. Oh, Dana White's not actually at this pursuit. So they built it up to some ungodly or some godly fights that blew, like, the only, like, to me, the only time where I was like looking at a hype for a fight that I knew wasn't gonna like meet the expectations was Anderson Silva GSP, and that never happened, and that was like what 20 years ago. But that was like, what, oh, it's gonna happen, they're just ready to sign the deal. It's like, so I guess my expectations were like, it's gonna be fine. I don't know. So when I heard that it was Jamal Hill defending his belt against Pereira, fine by me. I like it.
Also, I just looked up the card to kind of remind myself, and like the only fight that I'd be like remotely interested in for me is I love watching Justin Gaethje.
Dude, that's a good fight. It's going to be.
He's one of the most entertaining fighters.
I'm a Holloway guy, but I like Gaethje too. So that's
taking on Max Holloway, who's kind of like at this point like kind of past his prime. Like
he's still beating it. He's cleaned out the 145 division. He just can't beat Volkanovski, who got brutally knocked out last night. That's it. He's beaten everybody else. So I think he's going to get the title shot at 145 if he beats Gaethje, if he wants.
Gaethje is also an Arizona guy too, so
yeah, that's Justin Gaethje. I like the Chinese gal, Zhang Weili. If there's going to be women's MMA as the co-main event of a big card, it better be Zhang Weili, because like she's the only like fighter right now that really like brings the heat, to steal a term from Max Holloway. She's an absolute killer. I love watching her fight. But no, for me, put it this way, man, I watch so much mixed martial arts and combat sports outside of the UFC that for me, overhyping a UFC card doesn't do anything for me anymore. And maybe that's just me personally. It's like UFC, just like any card, is always a dice roll. You can hype up the names as much as you want, but sometimes they're just not going to deliver. And what I've found personally, which is, to bring it back to hockey, which is why I love the World Juniors so much, is it's not as polished as the National Hockey League game, and the minor leagues and junior leagues and some of these European leagues aren't as polished, but some of them are more exciting, because when you're in the UFC, a lot of these guys and gals, not all of them, they're fighting at the highest level, and they're fighting to win, but they're fighting not to lose. They're fighting to keep their UFC contract. They're fighting to stay in the best promotion that's going to get them the biggest sponsors, that's going to have name value, versus on the regional scene and in KSW and leagues that, oh my God, allow soccer kicks, stomps, knees to grounded opponents, real fighting, shout out Japan, and those in Poland that allow as much steroid use as you want. I'm sorry. I ain't no fucking caring. Those are the most entertaining leagues. When you have 70 to 80% finish rate on the cards versus snooze fest prelims and a few big names in the UFC. I love the UFC, man. It's what we grew up on. It's what molded mixed martial arts in North America. But in this day and age, especially the online era, there are so many better leagues to watch if you want to be just straight entertained and watch savage fights. But that's my soapbox to you, Richard.
And the thing is, like, you and I have talked about this before. Like, I love the sport of mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Just in general, I think it's incredible to watch what these athletes do, and it's very entertaining. But I think my problem with it is there's just so much of it now. It's really hard to like keep track.
Because that's what I'm for. You come to me, Isha, what leagues do I follow? And I tell you, 3. I would give you 3, and I'll give everyone listening: KSW, 1 championship, and Octagon. All those are friendly times for you guys to watch, Pacific time and or Eastern.
Are they easy to find?
Like, I got you. DM me after this. I got you. I got. But anybody listening to this podcast, I got a place to watch any of them. Any one of these. But the one that I tell everyone you should watch, but I understand it's at ungodly hours, is Ryzen. That's the Japanese promotion. It's basically Pride 2.0, Pride SC 2.0 or 3.0 at this point. Same rules, same intro. Lene Hart, who I'm interviewing soon on my channel, the announcer, who's like the opera singer announcer, like she's still there. Saki Kabara's son is still running it, who may or may not have affiliation with the Yakuza. Like the Yakuza, it's the exact same shit. But it starts at 1 a.m. Eastern when they have a card, right? And so for Pacific, it's not too bad. I mean, you're staying up all night, but at least you can get some sleep. Dude, for me, it's midnight Central to Well, I don't know what the fuck time zones you guys on anymore, because you guys keep changing your time zones there in Arizona.
Right now we are mountain time.
Okay, well,
Yes.
I guess it's still, it's kind of, you can empathize with me, Central. It's still a little too late, 11 p.m. your time to start.
I'm a night owl, so I'm always up.
Okay, but
till
Richie,
1
they're
o'clock.
like 14 to 15 fight cards, and they have a 45-minute intermission before the last 4 fights. So you're watching MMA for 8 hours straight.
Oh,
So it's tough to commit. It's tough to commit. So like that's why it's not in my top 3 recommendations, just because like, look, for casuals or people just trying to get into the sport, like it's tough, but it does have the best product. But anyways, we'll
I'm
talk
like,
off. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be one last point here. I feel like an old man yelling at a cloud when I'm reminiscing about like when the UFC first like started to pop off. Like that was my shit, dude. Like,
Yeah, dude, me too.
You know what I mean? Like this is like mid 2000s. You know,
The casino days.
Exactly. Yeah, that was when it was just starting to become a thing and become super popular. I miss those days.
Yeah, well, and that's why I like the regional scene, like LFA, Cage Fury FC, and shout out to LFA. They come to Minnesota all the time at Mystic Lake Casino. Keep your eye out for those ones, Richie, that come through the casinos locally where you're at in Arizona, because you go to those shows and it feels like early UFC, and those are the 2 direct feeder leagues to the UFC. That's like the AHL of UFC, and they're awesome, and you get that feel there. Kind of like going to a junior hockey game, kind of like going to a high school hockey game, kind of like going to a minor league hockey game. Or if you're like Richie in Arizona, it's like going to an Arizona Coyotes hockey game.
I haven't been to a Coyotes game in Mullet Arena.
You're
bad?
protesting the ticket prices, right?
It's like $130 to go to a game. I'm not paying $130 to watch a team that is just not competitive.
Everyone in Canada, even with their shitty teams, are just like rolling their eyes, Richie, because that gets you. Gets you in the door in Canada.
I'd rather spend $130 on a concert than a Coyotes game. I don't know what that says about me, but
or a UFC ticket. Let's go, baby. Richie, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll bring you on soon, man, as clearly we have so much more to talk about. So thank you guys, and we'll see you later, buddy. Take care. That's it. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. Before we hang up the skates here, I wanted to just give a quick shout out to our friends at Northland Vodka, ladies and gentlemen. No, like I said earlier, no more celebrating Sundays for NFL, but hockey is in full speed right now as we make the final push until the playoffs. NCAA hockey gearing up for the playoffs and then the tournament. I mean, sports are still in full effect here, ladies and gentlemen. And for all of you baseball fans, that's all K-Fan is talking about right now. So drown your sorrows if you're not a baseball fan in some Northland vodka. I'm just kidding. Drown your sorrows. The Volkanovski lost this last weekend in some Northland vodka. Or just celebrate. Just celebrate Ilya Topuria. Celebrate that baseball season is upon us. Celebrate that the Minnesota Wild are over 500. I mean, these are just off the top of my head, ladies and gentlemen. But if you are going to be boozing it up, if you are going to be taking the edge off, celebrating, and you want something with a little bit more of a kick than, the craft beer that we swoon over on the Soda Pod, Northland Vodka is the vodka for you. It's one of the best vodkas I've ever had. Dare I say the best vodka that I've ever had. Great local company. A small percentage of every sale goes back into the community, goes back into helping local hockey, which is amazing. Mark Parrish and the crew behind Northland Vodka are amazing people as well. Everybody we work with here on the Soda Pod are amazing people. And it's a brand that we can back and say, like I just professed, it is the best vodka I've ever had. 7th Avenue Pizza, the best pizza I ever had. Pair them together, it's going to be the best night you ever had, ladies and gentlemen. Northland Vodka, you can find them pretty much everywhere as well. And again, if your local liquor store doesn't have Northland Vodka on the shelves, ask a manager, ask an employee, why not? And I'm sure they will get it there for you. Again, shout out to Mark Parrish and the crew at Northland Vodka. Amazing people, amazing product, which is why we love working with them here on the Soda Pod. And speaking of amazing people and amazing products, who just launched some UFC games and UFC incentives to get on the platform, our friends at Better Edge, man. BetterEdge.com/thesodapod. Hit it up. Pause the tape. Hit it up right now. BetterEdge.com/sodapod to get 20 when you sign up. That's a $20 sign up bonus to play around with on the platform if you go to betteredge.com/SotaPod today. We always host our wild game day pick'ems where you can choose 7 out of 10 ways to win. $5 entry, winner takes all. You can bet on money line, player point totals, etc. More competitions to come as well, especially on the MMA side of things, as Hoppy will keep handling the football and hockey games that we host on the Sota Pod, game day pick'ems and things like that, contests where I'm going to start a bunch of MMA stuff on that side, particularly the UFC. So if you're into either or both, again, Better Edge is the platform for you. Follow us also on the platform, the Sota Pod on Better Edge for contest notifications. It's a free platform with legal betting in the great state of Minnesota, as well as 44 other states. If you really like the platform, if you're really digging it, if you want to get more out of it, there is an option to become a premium member at Better Edge Premium. Better Edge Premium players have access to free entry to premium pick'em contests, other grades, advanced order filtering, API access, and more. More details at betteredge.com/premium. But before you even go that route, go to betteredge.com/SotaPod and claim your $20 sign-up bonus today. All right, that's it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the Sota Pod, MNCAA, Judd's Buds, and now our new show with Joe Smith coming out this week. Hope you like the teaser. Hope you enjoy the episode. More to come. Great guests, great hockey talk, a great Minnesota Wild focus show, ladies and gentlemen, and we're happy to have you all along for the ride. Again, follow us on Twitter at SotaPod. You can follow us everywhere else at the SotaPod. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you got through this video on YouTube, thank you. Appreciate that you guys seem to like me posting the full SotaPod episodes on YouTube. Don't forget to smash that like button on all the videos that you watch. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be doing more streams into the summer, but we always stream every Wednesday, Judd's Buds, 6:30 p.m. Central. So don't forget to join that. Like, you can be part of the show. You can be part of the podcast. The audio side of the podcast drops every Friday, but you can be part of that podcast by jumping in the live chat or getting your questions in early for Z and Hoppy. Total interactive show, and it's just been so fun to see it develop, guys. So if you're a fan of Minnesota Wild prospects and more of a wild focused show, go check out Judd's Buds. Big shout out to my friend Richie for joining earlier in the stream. Love you, buddy. This was awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you all of you who are tuning in on the audio side. Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Folks, the iHeart, the best thing you can do for us this week, any week, besides subscribing on YouTube, obviously, is rate the podcast, review it. It just helps us get in front of more eyes. It just helps us get in front of more listeners. With that, signing off, I'm Isha alongside Richie Suave Flores here today. This has been the Sota Pod presented by Better Edge, 7th Avenue Pizza, Northland Vodka, and Waggle Golf. Don't fear, just drink some beer and stay wild.